Don't show him. What a special night. It's been a beautiful night. And I want to share some recollections of my good friend Norman, who I've known since 1978. That's 47 years. Norman's been my best friend. He's been my spiritual sister. He's been my fat ass school chum. And he actually was my wife in a school play, Exhibit A. That's Norman's address. Norman and I met at Fessenden School for Boys in 1978. I was auditioning, I was very nervous, I was very, I was out of place, and they assigned me a host for the day. They introduced me to Norman. He was a round-faced boy with a big blonde poof of hair. And the second I saw Norman, you're good. The second I saw Norman, it was like love at first sight. I felt like I recognized him. I swear. There was something familiar about him, and he was very, very, very kind and friendly and nice and smart and Catholic. I just knew that there was something special about him, that he was going to be in my life forever, and I was right. We were both pleasantly plump, Catholic, painfully androgynous. We loved Olivia Newton-John. We hated sports, and we lived for Polaroid photo shoots. We found all the same things hysterical, so hysterical, in fact, that we were separated in every class, banned from sitting together at lunch, placed on separate buses for field trips. Whether it was Paragon Park or Plymouth Rock. Do we have people from Massachusetts here? Our teachers kept us apart as if our combined joy was a threat to public safety. Even Norman's beloved Aunt Priscilla once declared, exasperated, "It's just not right. The two of you are stuck together like peanut butter." But we laughed her off. I remember standing in awe as the 10-year-old Norman, perched on a step stool at his house on Charlemont Street in Newton, flipped pancakes in the air with the flair of Pippi Longstocking. I remember him tying my tie in Fessenden when I was too ashamed to admit that I couldn't do it myself. Bittersweet memories of that train. We consoled each other when we were bullied. We failed gloriously at soccer matches and school dances. Over the decades, we shared some truly explosive, life-shaping experiences. Music and movies were our religion. We screamed together at Tina Turner's comeback concert at the Worcester Centrum in 1985. We got on a bus and went to Rhode Island Civic Center to see Pointer Sisters. Not a popular group with the other boys at school. No Def Leppard, Pointer Sisters. And of course, the countless Madonna pilgrimages. And this all culminated in 2010, where Norman and I hung out backstage with Cher. That's how you do it. That's years of practice. And then there were the movies. I vividly remember us sneaking into Flashdance at the Circle Cinema in 1983, getting tickets for Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it changed our lives forever. I remember Norman running out of Poltergeist and into Grease 2, and me chasing after him. In 1985, we stood in line on opening night at Chestnut Hill for The Color Purple, and we sat there wide-eyed as Seeley kissed Suge, and the audience hooted and hollered in shock. History was happening, and we shared it together. I won't go into our single years in LA and San Francisco out of respect for relatives. Suffice to say, we outgrew our Catholic guilt and had a very good time doing it. Isn't that right, Damian? But I was very lucky to have you with me on that journey. It was really special. Norman is most easily the most influential person in my life, next to Tina, of course. He's family, not by blood, but by every other measure that matters. He's been there through every drama, heartbreak, career failure, successes. Norman was and is always here. Now I'm gonna cry. And now marriage, a concept that once felt about as likely as us enjoying a round of golf. But here we are. In a world we couldn't have imagined, witnessing a joy we never thought we'd live to see. So today, Norman and Damian, I toast you both. May your love be like Tina, resilient, fearless, and simply the best. Cheers. Okay, Jan.
Just for the record, I like the Pointer Sisters as well. So I'm Jan. I am one of Damian is one of my oldest friends, and by that I mean I've known him a long time. Not that we're old, but we're kind of old. So, but anything with one of my earliest memories of Damian was that he invited me over to his house so that we could play computer games and hang out. But he told me before that happened, we needed to do some haying. And I didn't live on a farm, so I didn't really know what haying was or what haying involved. So I was like, yeah, that sounds great. So it was the summer. I went over in shorts. And then I learned some things. I learned I did not like haying. I also learned don't wear shorts haying. But the most important thing I learned was that Damian was going to be my friend for a really long time. From that point on, Damian's been family to me. When we were younger, we had birthday parties, and he came over to build gingerbread houses with us, and every Christmas Eve he'd come over and he would make a cheesecake from scratch. And funny thing about that is I don't like cheesecake, but he did it every year, and I liked his cheesecake. That was the important thing. But as we grew up, we've made new memories. He came with us to Ireland to visit our our foreign exchange student from when we were younger, and trips to New York, wine country, and our friendship has just grown and grown over time, and it's so special to me. But you know, along with being part of the family comes some other aspects of being family members. So Damian has mastered the subtle art of the guilt trip. The first time I visited Damian in San Francisco was on a layover on my way back home, and we met in the airport and we had lunch, and I told him, "Oh, I've come and visit you," and he very, very seriously told me, "No, you haven't." And he kept score, okay? He kept score. But also being part of the family means, you know, being a shoulder to cry on and being there to dispense invaluable advice, which he's done both to me and my sister. Particularly, we've had our share of relationships through the years, and Damian's been there as a person to listen to us and to dispense invaluable advice over and over. No matter the problems, big or small, in our romantic lives, Damian has dispensed the same advice over and over again. Just 2 words: dump them. And what that might say about something about my previous romantic choices, I like to think that it also says something about Damian as well. And then Damian is very wise, and I'm assuming he would take his own advice, and he's been with Norman for 14 years. I can only assume that they have never had any problems at all. So, in all seriousness, I feel very lucky to have the honor of having your friendship over the years. There are not too many people whose first reaction when you suggest a wild idea or a trip or a get-together is, yes, sure, positivity. And Damian is one of those people, and I feel so fortunate to have you as one of my best friends. And to Norman, though I haven't known you as long as Damian, all the time I've spent with you has shown you to be a warm, loving, caring, kind companion to my best friend. So, from the bottom of my heart, I love you both, and I wish nothing but happiness for the both of you. So, and Larry is next.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Larry. This is a fantastic microphone. My name is Larry Henry, and I am Norman's cousin. And on behalf of an entire crew of adoring cousins and family, I get to speak about my wonderful cousin Norman. And we are family. Our moms are sisters. We were born 3 weeks apart. That is a fact that, as recently as last night, Norman has rubbed in. And I'm willing to say now, cousin, you are older than me. 3 weeks apart, but not the same dudes. I am the oldest of 4. I was probably a little bit more serious, a little bit more intense. Norman would visit and he'd join us in the Cape, and he would bring this freer spirit. He would bring a whimsy that I envied, and he would be able to, at the right moment, introduce just the right touch of weird. But while we were different, we were also, like, there was a lot that kind of united us. One, we are both remarkably handsome. 2, we have found incredible people to spend our lives with. And 3, when we were young, we really liked playing Dungeons and Dragons. It's true. It's true. We would spend summer afternoons in the cobwebby basement of a house that we called the other house. And we would gather around cousins and a Jeff from across the street, and we would play Dungeons and Dragons or D&D. And when we played, Norman was our dungeon master. Now, there may be a couple of you who aren't familiar with Dungeons and Dragons or don't exactly know what the role of the dungeon master was, but don't worry, I'm here to help because one of my kids a couple years ago went through her own Dungeons and Dragons phase, which lasted just almost as long as it took Amazon to send me this Dungeon Master guide. And so I went to the Dungeon Master guide to consult it to say, well, what was the role of the Dungeon Master back then? And if I could read. The Dungeon Master is the creative force behind the game. He has to be a storyteller, an improv actor, a thoughtful guide to those around the table. He breathes life into the world and creates fun and challenging adventures for his friends. When I think about the Norman, the cousin that I have known, it actually kind of fits better than I thought it would. Because Norman breathes life into this world. He breathes it with his creativity. He breathes it with the way he supports each and every person in quiet moments of thoughtful and compassionate conversation, loud laughing moments, and you always know that you are supported on whatever adventure you might be on. He's been with us and inspired us for years. I reached out to a couple of our cousins to say, well, what do you think of when you think of Norman? Our cousin Marin, who couldn't be here this weekend, remembers a time, Norman, when you visited when she was in the 5th grade. And she remembers very nervously handing him this poem that she had written. And remembers even more the feeling that she had after he praised her. That feeling that I am special, I am valued in this world. My cousin Paul, when I was asking him about what he thought of when he thought of Norman, said he is the model of resilience, bravery, and loyalty. He's the kind of guy who you can just picture saying, the greater the challenge, all the more glory in surmounting it. Which sounds like something a really good dungeon master might say. Whether it was games in the basement, whether it was talent shows that were elaborate, dance routines that he would choreograph, Norman has, for his family, been this inspiring light, for which we are all unbelievably grateful. He would do all of it with love, all of it with support, and all of it with just a little touch of weird. And it turns out that weird is something that can rub off on a cousin. So I want to introduce you to this fella. Be careful, hang right there, yeah, you're good. This, as many of you probably know, is the beholder. Yes. Now, some of you may be wondering, is it weird to bring a beholder to an event like this? Yeah, it is. But is it a pretty cool excuse to put one of your kids into this costume? Yes, it is. And might it serve as a segue from Dungeons and Dragons to this blessed event? I hope so. They say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And there is unquestionably beauty in Norman as a man, as a character, as a human being. All the more beauty with Damian and this union. And if beauty is in the eye of the beholder, how much beauty could there be with all of these eyes of the beholder? There's something like 10 eyes here, which means there's like 10 times the beauty for these two. And so, in the spirit of celebrating beauty, celebrating love, celebrating this incredible, incredible character and guy that Norman has been, don't be scared. This is one of the good ones. I just want to close by saying, Norman, thank you. Norman and Damian, on behalf of all your cousins, your whole family, those with us here tonight, those around the world, and those who are watching, I just want to wish you all the best on the epic adventure you will have. And I wish you all the wonderful magic you two deserve. I love you, and thank you. We planned the introduction of the beholder. We did not plan the exit of the beholder.
Larry, great job. Great job. Coming up in shortly, a couple of minutes, or maybe a minute. I got to get over this. We're going to be doing cake cutting ceremony. Coming up shortly.